Hello and welcome to the Clashing of Steel. And today I'm trying to show and talk about the importance of the teamwork. There are a lot of players who go highly offensive, pushing deep into the enemy territories or just going mindlessly head on. In most circumstances these players end up dying, without accomplishing anything. They don't either know what to do or they're just going too greedy. Usually it is best if you stay with your team members. As you see here, there are two archers near me. Although I can't defend them on all terrains, I can probably do it here the best. Basically you see that we are near each other. We are practically covering each other. Although there are swordsmen near me, they are not dedicated defenders to the archers. They have their own plan of offense. Going alone can usually be a death sentence. Although these swordsmen don't go that highly offensive. The best tips I can give to melee infantries, or better yet spears: if you see lonely archers, go and defend them. They're probably going to need it. Actually we are set rather well. There are spears back in our base. I'm here defending the archers, and the swordsmen are somewhat covering the sides, but they're being offensive. Opponents are actually making a great move as well. They're going for the offense because they have overwhelming numbers, and because we are a bit too spread, they actually see an opening. I am mostly on the defensive in my base, although the spearmen are as well. The sword infantry is pretty much leaving us. He wanted to go offensive, or at least somewhat. Take the watchtower, see what there is, perhaps attack something. But the problem is there are so many opponents coming towards us. Although their archers got destroyed, they could still force us down rather quickly. But because our swordsmen went towards the watchtower, it forced opponents to spread. But the opponents weren't very smart here with the tactics they could have used. They could have destroyed those swordsmen up there near the hill. For some reason they did not want to fight the swordsmen up there they could have defeated easily. So now the Falksmen and the cavalry has gotten through. I couldn't go to the aid of those archers, because I am the only one covering the sides and defending the archers. If those swordsmen would have been here, we could have actually held them off really well. Usually the one going highly offensive gets punished, but in this situation the archers got punished. Although I tried to help the archers by pointing them where to go and even writing something and pinging on them, they did not pay attention or they just ignored me. I even pinged and wrote to these archers as well, who just ran out from behind me. And apparently at the last moment he realized what he had to do. The lonely sword infantry who went offensive down back by the watchtower dies as well. You must always try and work with your team. The simplest example is defending the archers, because if they're left undefended, the cavalry is usually gonna eat them up. The opponents here could have actually used teamwork to take us on, forcing me into combat with the Falksmen, using the cavalries to flank me and the other cavalries to go after the archers. But instead they were afraid to engage me, and seeing as they all had different ideas, they kinda messed it up for everyone. Right now I actually pinged on the Falksmen because I want for the archers to take them out. If he would have not paid attention or not noticed what I pinged, I would have wrote it. It's because Falksmen take a lot more damage from the archers. They have no shields, therefore they have near to none arrow block, or if it exists, it is very small. And cavalry has already given up on getting close to the archers. Here, with some teamwork and awareness, I was actually able to hold back 3 melee players, 2 cavalries and Falksmen. If the sword infantry underneath the watchtower would have been here to defend those other archers or this area, we could have held them off. That player would have gotten a decent score and he actually would have been useful. But because of the lack of the opponent's teamwork, we held our own and beat them back. The opponents just wasted their time trying to get close to us, while they could have been useful somewhere else. Or they just should have engaged us and forced us into combat. So I'm going to show another match. Here you can see again lonely swordsmen pushing towards the opponent's base, and by doing so they have forced themselves deep into enemy territory. This is probably the biggest mistake done by players, and often enough even by veterans. Players who go offense and aren't with their team. If he would have stayed back or gone to the watchtower, he would have done a lot better. He just pushed highly offensively deep into enemy territory. Usually it's not the best idea to go offensive when your team stays back. He practically ran blind into enemy territory. Even the catapult took a couple of swings at him. And this thing is not done by just one player per match or per team. During this game there were 4 players who pushed deep into enemy territory and got punished. Teamwork is best reflected on players who stay close to their team members. That is the easiest thing you can do. Stay close with the 1 or 2 other players. There are actually some bottleneck areas where you should go around and try to flank your opponents, but at those situations you need to have your rear covered and you need to be very aware of the situation. And that is probably the second most important thing, awareness. You want to be aware of what's going on around you. If somebody's coming in for a flank, if somebody's trying to flank your team member, you want to be able to cover them or you want to be able to support them, to let them know of the upcoming opponents. As you see here, the opponents pushed too hard and deep into our territory. Cavalry got them from the rear and the sword infantry got them from the front. This happened again because he just pushed into our territory and he was alone. I'm not saying you need to move with your whole team, but it would be great if you were near 1 or 2 friendly players, trying to support each other's sides or rears or even flank, and not going too greedy. You should also try to communicate with your team. Ask for support or ask if anyone needs support. For example, if archers need defending or if some sword infantry or cavalry is alone and could use some support. You can always use pinging and drawing to show others what your plan is. Although they might not understand it, it is still worth a shot. If you see lonely archers and you're playing spearmen or some form of melee infantry that can actually defend, you should probably go and defend those archers. That is also a simple form of teamwork. Pushing ahead alone is not a smart move. These lonely swordsmen here ended up getting caught between cavalry and the sword infantry. But then again, he pushed alone, and if he would have pulled back, he might have been alive till the end of the game. Try to be near your team and don't push out too far. Otherwise, you might create a situation where someone else might get killed and you might get killed as well, as it happened in the first clip. So this was it about the teamwork. A lot of tactics and awareness. The worst thing you can do is do nothing like the Volksmen. They just ran in circles. They were useless. Or like the sword infantry who pushed towards the opponent's base and got caught between their units. Best way you can play is probably with your friends. Or try to find someone with whom you can try out different tactics, combinations, and always try to fight for the victory and not the scoreboard. So anyways, don't forget to subscribe and thanks for watching.